Hello friends, welcome back. In my last video, we discussed about building a web-based email client. Mainly, we built a mock prototype wherein the web application gets mock JSON objects from the folder structure and then renders it. Okay. In this particular video, I will be discussing about how to integrate this with backend. Okay, for example, when I click on this, in my earlier example, I was just getting the mock data and then rendering it. Okay, in this example, I will demonstrate how to integrate this with Grails, wherein the JSON objects are rendered dynamically. Okay, so let's start off. Okay, so as a first step, let us analyze how the JSON object, the mock JSON object which I was returning looked like. Okay, so if you see here, the mock JSON object at the highest level had the folder name. For example, inbox. Whenever you click on the inbox button here, it will return this particular JSON. And similarly, when you click on archive or sent or spam, it will have here correspondingly ID as archive or sent or spam. And then it also has elements like sending from, sending to, and then sent date, booking information, and others. Okay, so this is the structure we are talking for on the grid. And when you click and go one level deeper here, then you try to fetch details information which looks like this: from data, and then from to, and then subject, and then body. Okay, for body message content, right? These are the items. So let us start off. As a first step, let me introduce you to Spring Source TC suite, tool suite. Now it is also called as Grails tool suite. Okay, and as a Grails tool suite is customized for Grails application development. So as a first step, so the Grails in a typical Grails application, what you do is you start a project, and then so here I can actually go and then create a Grails project. Okay, so I'll call this project as again let me just check if I have cleaned the folders appropriately. I'll call KTJS email. So there is already a project called KTJS email, so I'll rename it as KTJS1, or I'll just call it as Grails KTJS. Okay, and then I will actually put that in a different location. Okay, so I will put it here, and then obviously it complains telling this project name is different. So once I put the same project name, yeah, so now I'll go and then finish the project. If you also notice, it automatically picked up the Grails 2.3.4 version. That is the latest version. Okay, let me start. Here is the Grails application that we just now created. A typical Grails application has a structure of all the domain objects sit under a domain folder. All the controller objects sit on the controller folder. View objects, views are GSPs, Grail server pages, sits under view. And then more importantly, a config folder, which has data source configurations, and then config file, and then build config bootstrap. Okay, bootstrap is where you initialize a few data sets and URL mappings. Okay, so just to give you an overview, this is how the folder structure looks like. As a first step, our objective is to build a domain object. Okay, so here if you see, I am modeling the domain objects very similar to the JSON object. I'll explain that in a minute. So let me create a domain object called mail object. Okay, so I go here and then so again in Grails you can either execute a Grails command using a command prompt and then do it, or you can directly go to the domain object and create a domain object. So I'll demonstrate both, creating running an application. So let me create a domain object. So the domain object we'll call as mail. Okay, and then I'll say finish. It created a mail.groovy, the domain object, and mailspec.groovy. This is the test. Okay, so in this video I will not demonstrate how to test a Grails object or a groovy object. Okay, I'll just create the domain object. In one of my earlier example I already created it, so I'll just use it for now, but later. So if you go to this domain object, I have already created, so let me open this. Okay, so if you notice very carefully, mail JSON has attributes like ID, sending from, and then sending to, and then sent it, and others. So very similarly, if I go back here, I have all those objects. So what I do is I just copy this whole thing, and I'll also tell the message is a text area. Okay, as a constraint here. Okay, I'll save the domain object. The next thing I would do is I would create a controller. Okay, again, so let me try using a Grails command prompt to create a controller. Okay, so I can say, so create controller, and then I can call it as create controller mail controller. So if you notice here, it is creating the controller object. Okay, and again it will create two classes. One is mail controller and mail controller spec. And again, as I mentioned earlier, in this example I am not going to create a test. Okay, so I'll just go on then create the request mapper. I'll tell you what is request mapper in a minute. Okay, so let me open this. I have already created, and then I'll create a request mapper. So in Grails, all controllers by default has a index request mapper. Okay, by default, I'll tell you. Yeah, so let's copy this code and I'll come back and explain it. Okay, so I created this, and then I'll also create a request mapper for mail details. Okay, if you go to index, it will show you list, and then if you hit mail details, it will automatically show you a specific mail based on the parameter passed. Now it is giving you a bunch of compilation errors, so let's see if we can fix them. Okay, in STS IDE, so you can actually say, so it's telling you need to include this particular JSON. Let me, yeah, if you click here, it asking you to include. I included that, and then again if you click here, it asks me to include this guy, Grails.converter.json. So I included that as well. Okay, now let me save. So I created a mail domain object, and then I created a controller called as mail controller. Now the next step, and then this mail controller basically has two methods. One is index and other one is mail details. And if I call index, it returns the it gets all the mail objects that are created and returns a JSON. And then when I call mail detail, it'll return, if you pass a parameter ID, it'll return a specific mail. Now, to start making this example work, let us pre-populate some sample data in the config file. Okay, so I go to Bootstrap. Okay, in the Bootstrap, let me open my example that I have copied. Okay, so here I am populating a bunch of mail objects. I'll just copy and put it here. Okay, obviously it's complaining, telling I don't know what is this mail object. So if I click on that, I can add that here. So once I add that package, so that error is gone. Okay, so what I did was I pre-populated init data. I initialized all the data. Now let us run this example. Okay, so again, you can run this using Grails tools and then command prompt, or you can run using run as. Let us try running as a Grails command. Okay, run app. Okay, now if you see, the application has started here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll copy this URL. I'll just copy this. Okay, and then paste it here. Okay, so it got your famous Grails dashboard. Okay, so our objective is when I click on mail/index, it should return me the JSON objects here. Okay, what it means is, so in Grails, basically every controller, if you have mail controller, then you accordingly will have a URL mapping called as /mail. If you have a person controller, you will accordingly have a URL mapping called as /person as a convention. Grails works on the principle of convention over configuration. Convention over configuration. Okay, so and within that controller, every method will be one request mapper. So index means it will get written all the list of mails, and if I say mail details, so it will return a specific mail. Okay, now we have finished the JSON object plumbing. Okay, as a next step, I want to bind this to our earlier example, which we built using NetBeans. Okay, so this is the example. So now what I'll do is I'll let me do the wiring. Okay, first step of the wiring is let us get the HTML code from our earlier example. Okay, so I have built an HTML code mock prototype in this folder. So this is the public folder. I just copy all this, the entire folder structure except the JSON. I don't want JSON, mock JSONs anymore. Copy all these things, go back here and paste it in this example. Grails KTJS email. Let me go and copy in this folder. Okay, so I copied index.html and the JS file, and then application, and then main.js. So let me go back to this example. now what I do is I go to index.html. Okay, so if you see here, I got this, but then nothing is working. Okay, I know the reason. Okay, basically we removed the JSON plumbing, and then we so there is no JSON folder there. So it is trying to fetch the JSON object, and it is not able to fetch it. Hence, it is not working correctly. So let us go and then just refresh this. So I get this index.html. Okay, and I also get this app. Under app I get main.js. Under main.js, the first change I'll do is, instead of JSON JSON, I will make it as main index. Okay, and here I'll make it as mail details, and then I'll save it. Okay, I'll save it, and then once I do that, for some reason Grails throws an exception on this one, so we just need to restart the Grails server. Once we do that, it will start working. Okay, now what I do is I again refresh it. Okay, once I refresh it, so let us go and click this. So still it is not working. So let's see the reason. Okay, so I just go and then open the debugger for Chrome. Voila, it worked right now, right? And then I click on this. So if you see, it displays the list of items here, and then when you click on a specific item, it fires an Ajax and then gets the right item. Okay, so if you see different emails. Okay, so this is how we integrate the knockout based application with Grails. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, hope to see you soon.